Hello and welcome to episode 48 of the Rockies Now podcast. We are a Colorado Rockies podcast. Whether you're a Rockies fan or just a baseball person, you can follow us at Rockies Now on all of your favorite social media platforms: Facebook, X, Instagram, and Threads. Thanks for joining with us today. I'm your host, Steven. Co-host Tom is here. Tom, how are you doing?
Pretty good. It's the cold is subsiding here in Chicago, so the weather's getting a little bit warmer.
hmm
We're not in sub-zero temperatures anymore, so I'm doing a little better.
Yeah, same here. Same here. Was watching the Packers game not too long ago, just a few minutes before we were starting. And man, Jordan Love looks pretty good. I know it's a heavy defensive game, but man, it's just like, how are the Packers getting away with this? And I might have mentioned this last week, but I don't like the Packers. I hate the Packers. I feel like they get, like, I don't know. It's just, they're like, I don't know. It's just frustrating because first they get Favre, then they get Rodgers, and now Jordan Love is going to become a Hall of Fame quarterback. It's just like, as a Broncos fan, I wish I had that. Man, I wish I had that.
Well, being a Bears fan here, it's kind of tough because we had to deal with the long career of Brett Favre, then right into the long career of Aaron Rodgers, and now there's worry that we might be heading into the long career of yet another potential great Packers quarterback, at Jordan Love. So a lot of Packers fans are freaking out about that part of
Yeah.
it. It's just Bears, us Chicago Bears, we never have a true great NFL quarterback, whereas the Packers just keep churning them one after the other.
hmm Yeah, and I guess with the postseason going on now, and we're coming up on the Super Bowl, it kind of says that hey, baseball is around the corner. And the worst part,
Mhm.
I saw a tweet I think yesterday, and somebody was like, "What's the worst part?" And it might have been, I think it was Talking Baseball with John Boy. Basically, one of those pages. They were like, "So what's like the worst part of the year in the sports schedule?" And somebody commented was the days in between spring training and the Super Bowl. Those are the
Yeah.
worst days. I 100% agree. It's just like there's no like for I'm not an NBA guy. I'm sorry. I'm not a hockey guy either. I mean, I'll watch the Nuggets. I'll watch the Avs, but for instance, this year I haven't watched any Nuggets games, any Avalanche games, and it's just that football and baseball are my two sports. But I'm happy that baseball's coming back. But like we're going to be talking about today, this is Hall of Fame season, and
Mhm.
like I alluded to right in the, I guess we call it our pregame talk before we started the show. I'm pretty nervous for Tuesday. It's going to be extremely close. And I will show a graph here in a second what it
Mhm.
looks like right now, currently for Todd Helton. But Tuesday, man, I mean, it could be the day that we see Todd Helton get in, or he'll have to wait for another year.
Yeah, and it would be quite just a big just a I can't imagine the amount of letdown that it will be amongst not just Rockies fans, but Todd Helton himself when he yet again comes up just short. Because I can't imagine if he comes up just short, it'll be just below 75. Again, we'll talk about the projections that we're gonna see later, but currently he stands based on, a tweet from Ryan Thibodeau on Twitter/X. Great follow on Twitter, or X if you
hmm
don't do if he is a baseball fan, don't do so already. You can
Great
follow
job.
him
Yep.
at not Mr. Tibbs. Currently, as of January 18th, he has 82.8% right now. And that's, of course, between Billy Wagner at 79.9. And of course, above him is Mauer at 88.3, 83.3, and then Adrian Beltre 98.9. Those are the four that would be, if anything ended today, those are the four that would be inducted.
hmm let's read this comment here from YouTube. Lux says, "My grandfather said if Helton makes the Hall of Fame, we will go to New York and go to his speech at Cooperstown, and then go to a Yankee game after." Man, that would be so fun. I've never been to New York. I've always wanted to go to New York. Plus, always Cooperstown. That's the baseball city of the world. Man, like Lux, you're lucky. I wish I had your grandpa. But man, that's gonna be awesome. Again, if Helton gets in, that would be amazing. But I don't want him to wait another year. I mean, Todd Helton should already be in by now. I mean,
Yeah.
you look at his road OPS numbers, are just. I mean, I commented on MLB Network. They had made a post yesterday about, should Todd Helton be in the Hall of Fame? And
Mhm.
I'm like, just look at his road OPS numbers, or just his road numbers in general. I mean, they're better than some Hall of Famers like Rod Carew, and better than a bunch of other guys. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer. It's through and through. There's no really debate about that in my mind. Um,
Yeah. I'll give you here right. I've got his just career for reference last year. His career last year on the road was 287 batting average, 386 on base percentage, a 469 slugging, and an 855 OPS. So that's pretty impressive when you think about it all together in general. And again,
Mhm.
that's 1,186 games. He played hold on. He played 1,141 games at home. So it's a fair even splits. And again, we can go on and on about this, but the rhetoric needs to end. If I mean Larry Walker didn't spend his whole career with the Colorado Rockies, but he was a guy who was great every team he played for, and he's in the Hall of Fame. I think Todd Helton should continue that charge to continue to pave the way for Colorado Rockies to get to the Hall of Fame.
Mhm. Yeah, and let me pull up the other one by Jason Sardell here.
Hmm.
1 second here, because he came out with a really cool tweet today. Let me pull it up here. So yeah, here's the median. You can see Todd Helton. So the median is basically what they're expecting, where he's going to land on Tuesday. So they have Beltray. Beltray's getting in. That's basically a guarantee. It's going to be pretty simple for him to get in. And like the lowest they have him, basically the lowest he can go is 96%. So Beltier's easily going to get in.
Hmm.
Joe Mauer 83%, and then Todd Helton, they have him at 75.3%. So and they have him going down as low as 72% to 79%, and he was at 72% last year. Um, yeah, and like I was mentioning before we started, Todd Helton. So Todd Helton finished last year with the public ballots. He was last known at, I think, 79%. And
Hmm.
then when the final results were announced and they showed the final numbers, Helton had dropped, I believe, was it 5 or 6% to 72. And so basically, if you look at what Helton has now, which he's sitting right around 82, 83%, Helton needs to stay above 82% in my mind to get in on Tuesday, because if he goes
Hmm.
below 82, I don't think he's getting in. And if he doesn't get in, I think it'll probably be right around 73, 74%. But I'm going to be positive here. I think he has a very good chance of getting in on Tuesday. Hopefully. That's knock on wood, but we'll see. Okay, hold on. I think Mike's his mic is muted. Hold on. Okay. Okay.
Okay, I
Let me
think I'm sorry.
Okay, hold on. There we go.
Oh,
Hmm. Can you hear me?
I can still hear you, and yes, I'm still here. Sorry, everyone. We're having some technical difficulties at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's the website, because I have a bunch of websites. I'm not sure if it's that or whatever, but um,
One while we're
that's
while
it.
we're doing, if I guess if everyone we can also good. One interesting stat I found out about Todd Helton was his numbers, was his career numbers when he swung at the first pitch and when he took the first pitch. Here's something interesting that I've found pretty crazy. When he swung at the first pitch, he had a career slash line of 337, 362, and 565. But when he took the first pitch, he had a career slash line of 308, 433, and 529. It's very interesting.
Mhm.
So whether he took or swung at the first pitch, he had a career OPS over 900. Interesting.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, crazy numbers. It's just like, man, again, like we were talking about, like, because there was a podcast that came out on the Rocks podcast.
Mhm.
Um, the Denver Post, they do that, and Patrick Saunders does a great job over there, along with Kyle Newman. And they had some guests the other day on the podcast, and uh, they were just discussing how, of course, there's East Coast biasness from the East Coast writers that don't vote for Todd Helton. But Patrick Saunders came out with a tweet, I think, a few days ago, talking about how he tallied up I think the writers that said no to Todd Helton on their ballot or either removed him on their ballot. And majority of them, of course, were from the East Coast, and a few of them were from California. And it just like, what's going on there? It just like, come on, man. Like, it's so weird because they saw Todd Helton play for a majority of, or at least for several years on the West Coast. I mean, the Rockies play the Dodgers, the Giants, the Angels. I know they don't play the Angels as much, but they play the Angels, occasionally here and there. And it just, I don't really don't get that. I mean, maybe it was from an American League West team writer. I don't know, but it's just like they don't do the research, and it's frustrating for every Rockies fan, and especially when you see an empty ballot or when a guy that has voted for Todd Helton in the past, all of a sudden just they drop him from from their ballot. It's just very infuriating, and it makes a terrible day for a lot of Rockies fans.
Yeah, I mean, there's such thing as people saying you want. It's one thing for hometown fans to say they want their favorite players in, but it's another thing to when that favorite player is one of the not only one of the best in the history of that franchise, but one of the best you could say who belongs enshrined with the greatest of all time.
Hmm. Yeah.
Not to say Todd Helton is the top 5 player of all time, but he belongs up there in the enshrined in the hall with among the greatest to ever play the game.
100%. Yeah. And again, I think the announcement should be on Tuesday. Not sure what the time here. Let me.
6 I believe it's 6 p.m. Eastern time.
Okay. And they'll be on MLB Network as
Hmm.
usual.
Yep. Yep.
Again, I'm nervous. I'm hopeful that he can get in, but again, it's just like last year, he was at 79% right before, um, like basically the day or two before the announcement, and I was kind of hopeful, hey, maybe this is the year, and then he finishes at like 72%. And so, again, my hope is that he can stay above that 82% percentile. Because if he can stay above 82, 83%, right around 83%, I think he has a decent chance. It'll be close, but I think he has a decent chance. Um, so we have a couple comments here from Instagram. You pulling up to Rockies Fest. Um, for me, I am not. Of course, I live in Colorado. Tom lives out there. Is it Illinois, right?
In Chicago.
Yeah,
Yep.
Chicago. Yeah, Chicago area. And so obviously he can't come. I would like to, but again, I'm going to be busy on that Saturday. Won't be able to come. But man, like I've always wanted to go to these Rockies caravans, these Rockies Fan Fest, because I know one year I was I was close to going, but then I had to work. And my brothers, they were able to meet some of the players like I think Trevor Story, Tom Murphy, Mike Dunn. They got pictures with them, and I'm still to this day, I'm pretty jealous of them doing that without me. But um, unfortunately, again, I'm very I'm very disappointed. It's very unfortunate, but maybe another year I'll be able to go. But yeah, I know a lot of our listeners and followers on Instagram and Twitter. I know that they were going to the Fan Fest, so hopefully you guys have fun out there. Let me see if we have any more comments here.
Well, I can say for sure, me being in Chicago, I will not be there this year mostly because of my work and travel schedule at this very moment.
Yeah.
But I can say for sure, I do want to attend one in a couple years because unfortunately, my other team, the White Sox, had not had Sox Fest in 4 years for speculative reasons.
Are they are
But
they not, are they not having one this year?
no, fourth straight year.
Are there any reasons why they're not doing that, or
There's a number of speculative reasons, whether
yeah,
those are true or not. I mean, you can be the judge when we talk about
yeah,
that. It's complete BS. I think they're trying to, based on how the last rebuild failed,
hmm,
I think they're trying to avoid taking the tough questions at this moment in time.
yeah? It reminds me a little bit of the Rockies because the Rockies, they didn't have one for several years. I think the last time they had it was I want to say either 2019 or 2020, and a lot of people were like, "Why aren't you guys doing Rockies Fan Fest?" And there was some speculation that like, oh, because of the recent trading of Arenado made a lot of the fan base unhappy. We don't want to go to the Fan Fest. But I think the other part of it too, that I think what was actually the case was because I think Coors Field, they've been almost every single offseason they do renovations like either to the stadium, to the dugout, the clubhouse, because I think a couple years ago they
Mhm.
redid the clubhouse, and I think last year they were doing the area where they're doing the Rockies Fan Fest this year. So again, happy that they're going to be finally being able to do that. But man, that's unfortunate because it's just like I think it's a great way to connect with the fans of your team
Mhm.
because it's so hard because because it connects like I said, it's hard for the player or even fans to just even because it's like a dream come true. I mean, every single kid has dreamt about meeting this player, Mike Trout or Otani or Mookie Betts, like a bunch of these players, and so I think it's a great idea and it's a wonderful thing. And it's unfortunate that some teams are not doing it this year. I don't think the A's are doing it. I don't think they've done one in a while with the recent with the recent decline over there. But I saw
Just real quick, folks. Steven right now currently is on mute, so we're just again sorry.
Okay, there we go.
Oh, sorry.
All right. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you. We're back on.
All right, perfect. But yeah, it's I don't know. It's sad to see that like teams like the Athletics who have like zero promotional stuff on their schedule this year. It's just like it's frustrating as a baseball fan because you want to have some of these teams, put out like different promotions, but also different things to have their fans be excited about. It's sad.
Yeah, to me, it's a real big problem because it takes away from fan engagement. You want to engage with your fans, whether it's coaches, players, etc. You want to engage with your fans, build that relationship, and maintain a positive presence among sports fans of baseball. But not all teams see it that way, I guess you could say.
Yeah. Let me see if we have any more questions here. Do you watch college baseball? Now, I was just talking to Tom about this just the other day. I really want to get into that because the past several years I haven't been able to do that. Except last year when I was watching the draft and everything, I was like, man, I got to watch college baseball, and it really wasn't until like this the past few weeks I was like looking over at highlights of Chase Dolander and some other players that we drafted last year, like Cole Carrig, and I was like, man, like I want to like start watching college baseball. And I know I think it was the Travis Banzana because I know Tom and we were kind of talking about Banzana over the past or Bazana, whatever how to pronounce his name from Australia. Like we were talking about how it'd be cool if the White Sox or the Rockies got one of these players or like Bazana, for instance. And I was like, man, this year I need to watch college baseball. And so hopefully this year or in the next, few weeks, whenever college baseball starts back, I can start watching that. And so I can get kind of into the thing of things for college baseball.
I watch college baseball on occasion. I don't watch games regularly, but I do keep up to date as who makes the tournament, who makes it to Oklahoma, who makes the final, and of course, who plays in the College World Series. Specifically, it was not this past season. It was 2 seasons ago. Notre Dame made it to the final eight, which I'm a Notre Dame fan. So that was entertaining to watch. I don't, like I said, I don't watch it regularly. I do keep up with prospects as far as who's the top ones to go because I want to see who the White Sox and Rockies could be after. But as far as it goes, I do catch it on occasion because again, college baseball is fun to watch when it comes to because it is. I mean, obviously, as we all know, that's the last stage for any top player to use aluminum bats, and it is fun to hear the ding of the bat, how far it flies, and of course, college players do have a certain sense of style when it comes to how they play. They want to be flashy. They want to show off a little bit, but at the same time, they want to play hard because you're not necessarily playing for money, even with much money, because the NIL doesn't have a lot of money in college baseball players right now. But it's just fun because it is fun to play in Oklahoma for the College World Series.
Yeah, and I had this question not too long ago. Somebody commented to me and said, "Do you think baseball should kind of have what NFL does, where you can trade draft picks?" What do you think? I think it would be kind of interesting if they did that.
Personally, yes, I would like to explore. I think they should definitely explore that. However, that would be interesting when you think about it, because you have a trade that includes prospects and or major league players and then draft picks. Because you can trade international signing money. So
Yeah.
you can trade if you can trade that. I would definitely love to see that, because in the NFL it's a little different. They don't trade prospects because you don't have minor league affiliations.
Right.
Even though the USFL XFL merger is now officially a minor league, people call it the minor leagues of the NFL, which that's up to you can say agree or disagree on that one. But to answer the question, yeah, I would like to see them somehow one day where baseball teams can trade draft picks.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, and because for the Rockies, because with them, of course, they're going to probably have another down year this year, like we've already talked about on the podcast. But it would be kind of cool if like teams could trade draft picks like the Rockies. Hey, what if we wanted to trade with the Guardians for the number 1 draft pick? I mean, the Rockies, they've been trade partners with the Guardians over the past couple of years with Nolan Jones and then with Cal Quantrill. But it would be kind of cool if the Rockies could do that. But unfortunately in baseball, they don't have that, but it'd be kind of cool if they were able to get into that point of like, hey, let's do draft picks where you can trade draft picks, which would be really cool. And honestly, it would make the draft a little bit more exciting, because I feel like out of all the drafts in major sports, baseball is on the way up there. I think over the past several years, I've been watching a lot of the drafts. I'm more interested in it. The NBA, of course, they have their lottery draft, which can be exciting, but I feel like, of course, if you had a kind of like a rank of different drafts within the major sports, I think the NFL draft goes first because of all the hype around the college football players. Number 2, it might be baseball or hockey, because I'm not a huge hockey nerd or hockey guy, but I feel like hockey might be number 2.
The NBA draft is in there too.
Yeah, and so baseball, I want to make the draft a little bit more exciting, and I think implementing a trade system in the lottery, or maybe where you could trade your picks, or maybe even during the draft you could trade up or trade down, whatever you want to do. So I think that would be kind of cool if baseball did that. Of course, that would have to wait for another few years at least, because I think the next CBA is in like 2026 or 27. Yeah, 26.
Six. And
Yeah,
I
so
think I would love, and just like in the NFL, when you see draft day trades such as with the Chicago Bears, there's going to be plenty of offers given for that number 1 pick. So with baseball, I'd love to see that draft day trades where you trade this pick for that pick, etc. I love those. Those would make the NFL draft like a well attended, because you see a big crowd there, but also it's a vastly watched event because you get a lot of viewers tuning in.
Right. Let me see if we have any more questions here. I don't see any on here. I guess as we again, we're probably going to cut this one short because we have some plans coming up for this next week. We won't spoil it, but we have some pretty exciting plans on Thursday. So keep your eyes out for that.
If you don't mind, let's talk. If I don't mind, I just want to talk to you real quick about a couple of things when it comes to Todd Helton.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, because I know I think I brought this up in the past when we originally talked about it. When it comes to Todd Helton, I mean, we all know his career accolades. We all can use Google, use baseballreference.com. But it's just looking back on it, reflecting on his amazing career. There are so many moments that stand out. Whether it was his last at bat at Dodger Stadium, where it was I believe a 5-pitch strikeout, and I remember it was a Vin Scully. I can't remember exactly what he said, but he said something along the lines of, "Oh my, I really hope that I think every fan here hopes that's not the final at bat. Let's hope maybe he gets one more here. Come on, everybody, bat around here. Let's go." And that's one of my favorite moments. Obviously, him catching the final out of Ubaldo Jimenez's no-hitter.
Yeah.
One of the more disappointing moments of his career when he finished 5th in the 2000 MVP voting, when he led all players that year in the National League in WAR. He had an 8.9 WAR. He finished 5th, going from 4 to 1 here. Jim Evans, Mike Piazza, Barry Bonds, Jeff Kent was the winner that year. He led again. Jeff Kent had a 7.2 WAR in 159 games played. Todd Helton had an 8.9 WAR in 160 games played. Todd Helton led MLB in RBIs with 147, 42 home runs, slash line of 372, 463, and the slugging of 698. It's just that was just so unfortunate that he got snubbed that horribly that year.
Mm-hmm.
It was one of the more disappointing moments of his career. It's just it's unfortunate. And one more thing is, I don't know. It's strange until I didn't know this until a few days ago. I really did. Call me just crazy for not ever remembering this or not knowing about it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of fans do or don't remember this. But Todd Helton was almost traded in the offseason before that magical 2007 season.
Mm-hmm.
And if anybody wants, here I'll just give a couple quotes here from the articles that were in Sports Illustrated and The Athletic. Dan O'Dowd was quoted to say at one point the deal was far down the road because just to refresh everybody's memory, Todd Helton was in the middle of a 9-year, $141 million contract. And it was, again, just remember here, Dick Monfort was not the principal owner yet. At the time, Charlie Monfort was him. And hold on, let me go to part of the article here in The Athletic. Him and team president Kelly McGregor at one point in a private closed meeting shared the news with then general manager Dan O'Dowd and manager Clint Hurdle that they were exploring the possibility of that trade. And Clint Hurdle was quoted saying, quote, "I wanted to throw up in my mouth." And then Dan O'Dowd was quoted some of the deals that were actually reached out about it. One of the Anaheim Angels were the first one to reach out. Artie Moreno reportedly offered first baseman Casey Kotchman, had a pretty good career, infielder Sean Figgins, versatile player, and then minor league shortstop Eric Ibar, who was an okay major league player.
Mm-hmm.
So that would have been an interesting deal. And then, according to the Sports Illustrated article, there was a deal that was nearly completed between the Red Sox and the Rockies for Todd Helton. The Rockies would have gotten in return longtime veteran third baseman Mike Lowell, reliever Julian Tavares. But the one thing that apparently that halted the deal was they could not come to an agreement on the prospects that would come back in the deal. Names that were thrown around were Jacoby Ellsbury, John Lester, and Clay Buchholz. So the Rockies would have gotten a pretty good haul, but in the end, I think from speaking for myself, and I like to think all fans would agree with me, it's good that trade did not happen.
Yeah, and I mean, it's Todd Helton. Of course, we didn't really. I mean, you look at his career at that point, and you're looking at, yeah, he's probably a Hall of Famer because you're looking at later in his career, especially 2011, 2012, 2013, he started having those injuries and he just wasn't running the bases very well. And yeah, he could still hit. I mean, he was in many ways still Todd Helton, but you could tell that I don't know, his performance was starting to decrease. But I think by that point, a lot of people knew that, hey, this guy's a Hall of Famer or is going to be a future Hall of Famer. And if you have Todd Helton, because you look at that point in time in 07, I think the Rockies I think this is before the magical run that we all know and love. And I think some people thought, oh, the Rockies, because that was one of the best years that the Rockies have had in recent years, but they were treading toward another disappointing losing season, elimination probably coming up. We're probably not going to make the playoffs. Let's just, trade some players, stock up for 2008, 2009. Instead, they were like, nope, we're going to keep Todd Helton. And they made the right decision. Obviously, we now all know that. But if you have an opportunity, to keep Todd Helton, you got to keep him. I mean, like you kind of understand, okay, you maybe think about trades or whatever, because, what if you don't make the playoffs? And if the Rockies didn't make the playoffs in 2007, the next year that they made the playoffs was in 09, which was 2 years later, and when they had a pretty good roster with Jason Giambi, Carlos Gonzalez, who they got in a trade that year from Oakland. But yeah, I mean, you can't trade Todd Helton, who's a Hall of Fame player. And I think for them to do that, great idea. And of course, we all know how that went to finish out the year. And I think if you look at Todd Helton's reaction in the NLCS game when the Rockies clinched the NLCS pennant, I think he mentioned one time before that, yeah, the face of his reaction where he put up his hands in celebration, I think he said half of that was actual excitement and joy, but the other half was just frustration and just like, because he's played so long for the Rockies and wanting this team to win and finally being able to do so for the first time in his career and his first time in his postseason, in his career to be in the postseason. It was special for him, especially to do it with a team that he thought he was going to get traded from to the Red Sox. And by the way, he played against the Red Sox in the World Series. So that's something for you too. But I don't
Mhm.
know, just extra special. But overall, of course, we know that the trade didn't come down, it didn't happen, and that Todd Helton is going to be a Hall of Famer for the Rockies either this year, hopefully this year, but it could be next year if he doesn't get in. So
I'm looking for the day when I do visit Cooperstown. I can actually see him wearing that Rockies
yeah,
hat in
yeah,
his plaque.
yeah, it's going to be an awesome day. I mean,
Because Larry
yeah,
Walker is not wearing a Rockies cap. He's wearing. Darn,
I
I
think
can't
he's wearing his
remember.
Rockies cap.
Is he?
I,
Is he? Is he?
Yeah, he is. I think so because I think there was when they announced it. I think people were like, "Okay, are you going to retire as a Montreal Expo, or are you going to retire as a Rocky or as a Cardinal?" And I think just because of like the longevity he played in Colorado and the history of it, I think I'm pretty sure he retired. Well, he didn't retire in the Rockies uniform. What I meant was that his picture in the Hall of Fame, his plaque is a Rockies cap.
It is. I just double checked.
Okay,
My apologies.
yeah,
Yes, it
no, you're
is.
good,
Just with
but yeah.
everybody out there, yes, it is. So
Yeah, and
Todd Helton will not be the first.
no, it will not be the first. And so that asks another question: who's going to be the next Rockies Hall of Famer?
Oh
Because I think
wow!
you're looking at a
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
you're looking at a player in St. Louis's. I know he's in St. Louis, but you're looking at the next guy that's actively playing right now. I mean, Matt Holliday, like we mentioned, I think when we had our Hall of Fame podcast where we kind of did our Hall of Fame picks, I had Helton in the Hall of very good. I think Holiday, excellent career. I mean, start of his career, maybe you had a conversation of yes, Hall of Fame, 100%. But then, later in his career, I mean, he bounced around with the Yankees for that 1 year in 2017, then finished his career with the Rockies in 2018. He put up very solid numbers, and he was a multi All Star, multiple, Silver Slugger awards, but I'm not sure if it's necessarily the numbers that would put him in the Hall of Fame necessarily. I would love to see Matt Holliday in the Hall of Fame, but I just don't think he would have enough. And not to mention, I think like the graph that we had up early in the podcast, Helton was treading basically, it was under 1%. It was in the,
Mm.
0 point, whatever it was. I think it was like 0.5 or something, or 0.4. But, Holidays looks like he's not going to make it, which is unfortunate because I would have liked to see him get at least above 5% and stay on the ballot for you know several more years, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. But if you look at current players right now, or even like players that okay, next player would be Tulo. Tulo Whiskey is not going to be a Hall of Famer with his injury history.
No.
Um, I
Well,
don't
when
think that would have.
you,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, I was just saying I don't think Tulowitzki would be necessarily a Hall of Famer because of his injury history. I mean, like Holiday, the first few years of Tulowitzki's career, he was arguably the best shortstop in baseball next to Derek Jeter. He was the best nationally shortstop. But then once the trade, or even before the trade to Toronto happened, Tulowitzki was struggling with his injuries, leg injuries. I just remember I remember as a kid that was getting ready to go into high school, I was frustrated with Tula. I'm like, why are you getting injured all the time, man? Like he's running down the first base line, he's hurting his cat, like he's hurting late. I mean, it was very frustrating. Um, Toronto, he had some good numbers in Toronto, but I just don't think it's going to be enough to be in a Hall of Fame. And it just, I think with Holiday, I think Tulowitzki would be in the Hall of very good players. But if you're looking at active players right now, I think the closest guy that would go in the Hall of Fame that had played for the Rockies would be Nolan Arenado, I think, which is pretty simple.
I would say for sure. I would say Nolan is definitely the number
Mhm.
one. If you want to put the candidates, rank the candidates in terms of likeliness over the next several, so Nolan's definitely number one. And if you want to rank it based on WAR, whether it's with the Rockies or after, it's definitely Nolan. It's interesting. I did not know this, but Nolan's career WAR with the Rockies was 40.1, whereas
Mhm.
Tulo's was not far behind at 39.5.
Mhm.
I didn't realize they were that close. I mean,
Mhm.
Tulowitzki, when you look at his career, 5-time All Star, 2-time Gold Glove, 2-time Silver Slugger, so he did earn accolades during his career, and he did. It's just that. Yeah, I mean, the last couple years with the Rockies, and then after he left to go to Toronto, he just struggled so poorly with injuries. I mean,
Mhm.
in his three, or I should say, yeah, in his 2 full seasons in Toronto, he only played over 100 games one time.
Yeah.
He's again Hall of very good. However, when you look at his career WAR is 44.5, 44.5. Sorry, I couldn't speak there. That puts him right around the range of where Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley, who are on the ballot, currently are. So you can, if you want to compare just on that statistic alone, you can make an argument that Troy is obviously Hall of Very good, but the difference between Tulo and those guys is Jimmy Rollins and Chase Utley. They played in the World Series, and they both have a World Series ring together. So there's a pretty considerable argument for them that works against Troy Tulowitzki.
Yeah.
And then looking at other players, there's nobody else. I mean, if you want to, again, going down the line of WAR in terms of all-time Rockies, the next on the list is Trevor Story at 26.8 with the Rockies. He is, again, he is in the potential to get to the Hall of Very Good if he learns to stay on the field during the rest of his days with the Red Sox. Then you go down to Cargo. He's a Rockies Hall of Famer. With the Rockies make a Hall of Fame, he's in the Rockies Hall of Fame. And then you go down to Charlie Blackmon's next. He's again a Rockies Hall of Famer. So again, to summarize and answer the question, Tulo would have an argument, but really he would not last after his first year. I think he'd be off the ballot. So the next I definitely would say is Nolan Arenado.
Yeah, and when you were talking about like team Hall of Fames, the Rockies, they don't have a team Hall of Fame, which I think a lot of fans we want a team Hall of Fame because even the Marlins had their own team Hall of Fame. The Yankees, of course, we all know the wall of fame that they have in their stadium of like several different players. And it's so interesting because they've had so many players with the same numbers and they'll just add another player to that, and the Rockies, I would like to see that, but we haven't seen that yet. But if the Rockies are listening to this, please implement a Rockies team Hall of Fame. And I think in Colorado, they have, Colorado Sports Hall of Fame, but specifically for the Broncos, they have their own team Hall of Fame. I think the Avalanche might. I think the Nuggets might as well. But it's like the Rockies, they need to do that. But yeah, I want to say a couple months ago when we did a collab post with Rockies Roundup. Shout out to her; she does an excellent job. Katie, shout out to you. Great page at Rockies Roundup on Instagram. Let me see if I can find it here. Yes. So I did a collab with her with rookie season comparisons, and okay, got this up here. So you're looking at Ezekiel Tovar, Nolan Arenado, Troy Tulowitzki. We compared all three of those guys in their rookie years. So Tulowitzki had the highest WAR of Arenado and Tovar. Tulo had a 6.8 rookie year WAR, which is pretty darn good. And not to mention, I think Tulowitzki came in second to Ryan Braun in 2007 for the Rookie of the Year award. I think Ryan Braun, of course, had that big year with the Brewers. And I feel like he is not, I like Ryan Braun is one of those players I just don't hear much anymore. And I know that there was talk. I remember when there was talk about him years ago when I'm not sure if it was he doing like drugs or something? I'm not sure. It was something weird.
He was, if I remember correctly, he was suspended for PEDs.
Yeah, I think that was it because I know there was conversations. Oh, should he, there was even conversations if he should be kicked out of baseball. I remember that. But yeah, Tulowitzki, 6.8 WAR in his rookie year, played 155 games, and of course this is 2007 because he made his debut in 2006, but it was only just a handful of games. But in 2007, he played 155 games, 177 hits, 24 home runs, 99 RBIs, 291 batting average, and a 838 OPS. And all those numbers that I just mentioned were better than Arenado's and Tovar's rookie seasons. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the numbers, Tovar had a better rookie year than Nolan Arenado had in 2013. So, yeah, I mean, Tulowitzki, again, it's sad to say this, and it's sad to see, but I don't think Tulowitzki is going to make the Hall of Fame. And I agree with you, Tom, 100%. That he would be in the Hall of Very Good. I don't think he would make it into Cooperstown just because of the injury history. And we've seen a bunch of these players throughout baseball where they have very good starts, or and we've alluded to this, before, prospects. There's been prospects that have been drafted in the first, second round that have high ceilings and they just don't make it. They just don't pan out. And it's unfortunate for even good players that have great starts that are like, oh, these guys are going to be future Hall of Famers, and they just don't pan out. And it's just unfortunate. But I think there's other issues with Tulowitzki when he left Colorado. He wasn't very happy with the front office because I remember he like constantly. I remember Tulowitzki said something about the Rockies spring training facility was like a country clubhouse, and that upset a lot of Rockies fans. And I just remember hearing that. I'm like, he shouldn't have said that, but because I know a lot of Rockies fans really like Tulowitzki, but it's kind of interesting to see because Arenado's and Tulowitzki's exit out of Colorado kind of were similar because they both had issues with the front office slash GMs. Because if you remember, Tulowitzki and Arenado had the same GMs, and they both were traded away. And again, we've said this before. I've said this before. Jeff Bridich was not a particularly good GM in Colorado. He was arguably one of the worst GMs in baseball, period. And I think just looking at the comparisons between Bill Schmidt and Jeff Bridich, those two guys are not even close. So just to say that there.
I think I think we'd be hard to find the person who would disagree with us on that sentiment, on that opinion.
Yeah. By the way, the 49ers, they got the win over the Packers, so I'm happy. I'm really, really happy.
Bye-bye, Packers.
Yeah, what was the score?
24-21.
Yeah, because like there's this Packers guy that I watch on YouTube. Some of you guys might know who I'm talking about. Tom Grassi, excellent job. He's of course a big Packers fan, so I feel bad for him a little bit, but again, I hate the Packers just because the history, of just finding good QBs out of nowhere. But hey, I mean, great run for the Packers though. Like I gotta give them credit because I mean, this team, in my predictions, I thought this Packers team was probably going to be like a 5-6 win team, but no, they were. I mean, it's kind of funny to think about, but the Broncos beat the Packers, but the Packers they just went on a hot run and continued last week against the Cowboys. Haha. And they were able to move on, but the 49ers, man. I mean, I was nervous at the beginning of the game because I'm like, Brock Purdy, you got to get on your A game here. I mean, the defense on both sides was pretty good, but Brock Purdy, man. I mean, last year we kind of saw some flashes of him, and even the year before that, I believe, when he was kind of coming into games. But Brock Purdy, I'm super excited for that guy. I think he's going to be their future QB over there in San Francisco.
Me too. So, but for us Broncos, we had the last time they met the Packers in the Super Bowl, we had the victory. Super Bowl 32.
Yeah. In that stadium too, like the game tonight, the Broncos won in that stadium. So, did we? I don't know. Did we do our Super Bowl predictions last week?
No, we did not. We'll do that once everything comes.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that another time. But anyways, folks, yeah, I think that will do it.
I think we should wait. We should wait till we comes to the maybe the final four or the final two. But either way, but the one thing the next item for me on my sports agenda is waiting to see what happens on Tuesday.
Yeah, because again, I'm very nervous. Like not gonna lie, my heart rate this afternoon was like when I was looking at tweets and everything about Hilton. I'm like, he's got to get in this year because this is like for those who are like Beltre fans, like I'm happy. Like I want Beltre to get in. I want Maurer to get in. But for my player, Todd Helton, who I remember going my very first Rockies game in 2010, I remember watching Todd Helton and just like seeing him end his career and get to this point in his career and just and for him to put in the work effort and not to mention he's working for the organization. And I think Lux told me on Instagram that he's actually going to be going to Rockies Fan Fest, which is I think next week. So if he gets in, there's going to be a celebration at Coors Field when Rockies Fan Fest comes by. So again, for those who are listening or watching, if you're going to Rockies Fan Fest, have fun. You might be able to see the Hall of Famer there. But Tuesday, big day. Mark your calendars. Stay tuned on our pages because we'll be on it. We'll be releasing any news, any stuff that comes out, whether he makes it or not. But we're really excited because we think Tom and I believe that there's a chance that he gets in this year. I think there's a little bit more by the numbers, by the percentages, there's a little bit of a better chance for him getting in this year than last year, but it's still going to be very close. I mean, it might come down to the small decimals. I mean, it might be that close because again, like we showed earlier, like the graph that we had up, he had Todd Helton finishing at 75.3, which is like right there. So we'll have to wait and see. It's going to be close.
I'm going to try and make sure I stay focused all day at work and
same.
When it's over, just hope and pray for the best. I do believe it's going to happen. So knock on wood right there.
Knock on wood. Yep.
Yeah. So, but yep, it's gonna when he gets in, there's gonna be a party, and just can't wait for the game when they have the big celebration to honor him at Coors Field.
Yeah, and I got my phone notifications on, schedules on, so stay tuned for that, folks. Buckle in. It might be an interesting few days, and hopefully Todd can get in. So go Todd Helton, go Rockies. I think that'll do it. If that's it, I think that'll do it. Thank you, folks, for coming with us tonight into tonight's podcast. Sorry for the audio issues that we've been kind of struggling with tonight. It's been kind of weird. We kind of had internet connection problems right when we were coming in here. But anyways, that will conclude this episode of the Rockies Now podcast. Please be sure to subscribe, follow, rate, and review all of our social media pages. We love hearing from all of our wonderful listeners. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the podcast. Have a great day, everyone. And as always, go Rockies and go Todd Helton.